Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. I'm just hanging out here at the hangar again. And today I want to talk about another shop tip, and that is bench grinders like this. And again, it may just seem really silly. Said, gee, what's the deal? What's the big deal with a bench grinder? You just turn it on and, and like, what's the deal? Well, actually, bench grinders can be super dangerous. And the biggest danger with a bench grinder is this wheel coming apart, okay? And when they come apart, it's like an explosion. One way to protect yourself against that wheel coming apart is to stand to the side when you turn one of these on. Now, if you spend any time at all in a shop, you're gonna see these guys, and they'll just belly right up to it, just like this, and turn it on, and the thing, starts spooling up, and while it's spooling up, they're already grinding, okay? Well, that's, you don't want to do that, okay? You're smarter than that. If this thing was to fail, chances are it's going to kill them, okay? So what you want to do is you want to stand to the side. Here, let me show you. So here's the bench grinder. I want to use the bench grinder. And by the way, this bench grinder, this was given to me by your aunts and uncle and maybe father for like Father's Day or my birthday over 40 years ago. Yeah, well over 40 years ago, maybe 45 or more. I still have it. I'll always keep it, and still works great. But anyway, so here's how I'm going to turn it on. Okay, I'm not going to stand in front of this wheel. Okay, the wheel spins this way. So if it were to come apart, it's going to go like this. It's not going to come this direction. It's going to go in the, like that. So I'm going to walk up to it, but I'm going to stand to the side and turn it on. See, like that. So I'm service right now. Now that it's spinning and it appears to be safe, now I can grind with it. If this wheel, or any grinder wheel for that matter, or even if it's a disc grinder like a 90-degree grinder, you have a disc on it or whatever, if you spend enough time around shops, you're going to see those come apart. These or grinding wheels, whatever. Anyway, if it's going to come apart, chances are it's going to do it as it spools up. As you turn it on and it begins as the RPM begins to increase, that's probably when it's going to come apart. Why? Because it was probably damaged prior to your using this grinder, and it just hasn't come apart yet. So that damage exists already. When you turn that switch on, that's when it'll come apart. So stand to the side. And here's the thing. Like I said, when these things come apart, it's like an explosion. These things turn insane amount of RPM, okay, revolutions per minute. In other words, how many times does it revolve per every 60 seconds? Okay, this one goes 3,450 RPM. So that means that every 60 seconds, this wheel spins around almost 3,500 times. Now that's just insane to think about the energy that's just right there, okay? And so doing that, this wheel, the outer parts of the wheel are turning, pulling well over 1,000 Gs. Now, we can explain Gs some other time, but basically that's the force of gravity. Right now, I'm pushing 1 G onto this concrete floor. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'm pushing 200 pounds on the floor at 1 G. Imagine what it would be like at 1,000 Gs. Okay, so if a little 1 pound piece of this wheel came off, and at full speed, pulling 1,000 Gs, there's actually more than 1,000, but anyway, it would leave here with 1,000 pounds of force. Okay, so if you were standing in front of this when it came apart and it hit you, it's going to be a bad deal. Okay. It may hit you here in North Idaho, but they're going to find your gallbladder in Waxahachie, Texas. All right, there's going to be no stopping that piece of wheel, plus all the other stuff that comes off. So let's get back to how you keep safe when using a grinder. You want to step to the side, turn it on, and then stay to the side as it's spooling up. And the other thing is you want to have eye protection, okay? If this does come apart, it's going to throw stuff everywhere. It's mainly going to go outward, you know, in the direction of the wheel, you know, 90 degrees from this shaft, because that's where all the G's are. But it's still going to throw chunks of stuff everywhere. And you want eye protection. You want eye protection anyway. You don't ever want to grind or use a wire wheel or anything without eye protection. You know, eye protection is so important, and most people take it for granted. I remember I worked with this one guy. He was in a shop environment. This guy was a structure mechanic, you know, shooting rivets and all that stuff. And he was injured on the job, and he lost the sight in one eye. Well, that guy wore safety glasses 24/7. In other words, when he got up in the morning, as he's leaving, he's put safety glasses on, and he wore those safety glasses all the time. He never took them off. Why? Because he only had one eye left. And you can say, well, yeah, but what's going to happen to the eye? Well, what happened to his other eye? Okay? If it happened to his other eye, it could happen to the only one he had left, and then he would be blind. Well, I don't want to lose either eye. So whenever you're working in a shop, on anything that's going to produce any kind of projectiles or anything like that, you need to wear eye protection. So, eye protection whenever you're using a grinder, absolutely, and step to the side when it starts. Now, if you're in a shop with a bunch of old timers, guaranteed the guy's going to walk up, belly right up to this machine, turn it on, and as it's spooling up, he's already going to start grinding. You know, he's going to think that you are silly for standing to the side, and he's going to tell you, "Wow, I've been doing this for 50 years." Okay, what he's telling you is that he's been ignorant for 50 years. Okay, well, you won't do that because you're not ignorant. You know the right way to do this, okay? You know the right way to do things. Let them be ignorant. Let them say whatever they're going to say. But you step aside when you start a grinder and have eye protection on. Now you may wonder, what would cause a grinding wheel to come apart? You know, isn't that weird? I mean, don't people use grinding wheels all the time? They do. And when they come apart, it's rare, but they do come apart. And there's all kinds of reasons why they can come apart. It could be that it's made incorrectly. I mean, who knows? There could be flaws in the way it was produced. Things happen. Also, it could be damaged. And there's so many different ways that it can be damaged. Okay, so for example, one way that just absolutely drives me out of my mind is when I see guys grinding soft materials like aluminum or something like that on here, okay? Just like with a hacksaw, if you're grinding, you want to grind metals that won't gum up the grinding wheel, okay? In other words, when you put it in there, it's going to throw sparks, okay? It's not going to just kind of rub off like a stick of butter. All right, and so let's talk about that, why that's a problem. You know, sometime I'll show you the old school way to pack a wheel bearing, okay? But you put a glob of grease on your hand, and then where the bearing is, you get just the edge of the bearing, and you start doing like this, right at the edge of that glob of grease. Well, when you do that, it forces grease into the bearing, and you keep doing that until the grease actually comes out the top of the bearing, okay? You turn the bearing, you keep doing that. Once you get that all the way around, then you properly pack that bearing. It's called packing a bearing. Well, and the reason it does that is because you're forcing that grease into that bearing, okay? So it has to move, it goes in through the bearing. Well, when you put something soft on here, like aluminum, well, you know, this wheel is very porous, it's very rough, okay? When you put that aluminum in there, that aluminum then kind of starts filling the little microscopic voids in this wheel. But then, you know, the people keep pushing, you know, trying to get this thing to grind the aluminum, which it doesn't do a very good job of. And you add a lot of pressure into those voids, you know, because it keeps trying to pack it in there, okay, number one. Number two, the other thing that happens is as you're there trying to force it, now things start to get hot, okay? They heat up. So what have you done? You've packed the pores in this wheel with a material that then, which that in itself creates this pressure in all these pores, which would be real easily to create a stress and create a crack. On top of that, now you're heating it. Well, soft stuff like aluminum really moves a lot with temperature. Okay, so if you pack it in there and then you heat it up, well, now it's really putting a lot of pressure on that. All of that can crack the wheel. Once the wheel gets cracked, it'll come apart. Okay. The other thing is it can be damaged. I mean, they call it a bench grinder because a lot of times they're mounted on a bench, but this one here is on a pedestal. Okay, it's because I would use this at the side of an airplane that I'd be working on, you know, shaping tubes to be welded into a fuselage or whatever, so I needed it to be mobile, so it's on a pedestal stand. Well, this thing can fall over real easy. Okay, well, you say, well, I've never dropped it. Okay, well, have you been watching this thing 24 hours a day, every single day? Well, no. Okay, has anybody else been in your shop? Yeah. Okay, do you know for a fact that they haven't dropped it? Well, we wouldn't know that. And there's a lot of people out there that would drop this and they wouldn't say a single word, which is really bad. You know, I know you wouldn't do that. If you dropped it, you'd come to me and say, hey, you know, I dropped this, you know, is there a problem with it? When we would look at it, if there is, we'll just replace the wheel. But a lot of people would just pick it back up, and if nobody ever saw them, they'd walk away. Now, are they going to be the next one to use the grinder? No. Some person that had no idea what happened would turn that on, and if it fell on this wheel and cracked it, bang, there it goes. Or they could be carrying something heavy like a pry bar or something, you go wham, and hit the edge of it. They may not even think anything of it. But these wheels are brittle. You know, you don't want to be hitting them with some heavy tool or whatever. Anyway, there's all kinds of reasons why one of these can come apart. And even if there was only a few reasons why it would come apart, is that still worth standing in front of it when you turn it on? No. And I know you guys know that, okay? So always stand to the side when you turn it on. Another way that the wheel can be damaged just by simple use is by not having these rests in place, okay? These rests are there for a reason. Let's say, for example, you're going to grind this. You put this on the rest and you move it into the wheel, okay? If this rest isn't here and it's just a bare wheel turning and you stick this in there, what could really easily happen, depending on the angle, is it'll dig in and the wheel will push the piece out, but of course, you know, you're putting pressure on it. It pushes the piece out, then you go back in because you already have pressure on it. It digs in again now because now you really struck it. It pushes it out, you go back in, out, in, out, and it just does this at like the speed of a machine gun. Well, every time this thing gouges into that wheel, that's another place it can chip it and another place it can create a crack, okay? So always have these, if you have the rest in place, you push it, you lay it on the rest and you just bring it in and it'll grind, it'll grind the way it's supposed to. And here's another point about grinders, like for example, this one's on a portable pedestal. You know, I carried it over here to make this video. Well, you need to be mindful of the sparks that come off of this thing. This thing will throw sparks into the next zip code. You wouldn't believe it. In fact, I'm going to show you here in a second. I'm going to turn the lights out. I'm going to grind something just to show you the sparks. But look what's around me. First of all, I have a nice white door. Well, these sparks that come off, those are actually pieces of metal, all right? And when they stop sparking, when the light goes away, the metal doesn't go away. And there's still a piece of metal there. It's just not red hot anymore, okay? So all this, I guarantee you, if I just sat here and ground something for a little bit, there would be an area here on this door with pieces that are stuck on it, okay? Also, be aware of what else is around. Like, for example, there's someone's hat. There are some gas cans right there. And, you know, there's an electrical cord coiled up on the ground. I tell you, there's nothing worse than someone that's been grinding around an extension cord or like an air hose. You know, and you're going to put it back and you're kind of sliding that through your hand and all stuff, and all that grit is in there. It's just terrible. So in addition to the safety aspect of using one of these, be aware of the environment that it's around. Anyway, let me turn. I'm going to move this over here to a safe area, and I'm just barely going to touch a piece of metal on here so it doesn't throw a bunch of debris in the hanger. But I want to show you the sparks that come off of it. Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, I got my safety glasses on, and I've moved the grinder to where there's nothing that it's going to damage. I'm just going to grind just a little bit off this file, just so you can see the sparks that will throw. So you probably can't see me, but I'm going to stand to the side. I'm going to turn the grinder on, and I'm going to show you the sparks. So you can see that it's throwing material everywhere, not just out here, okay? And the sparks may have gone out to about here or so, but that piece of metal that was hot is still, you know, it goes a long ways past the grinder. And so now that I've done that, I'm actually going to sweep up here because I hate walking in that grit. But anyway, I actually thought that was going to be harder. Did you notice that the sparks are kind of a dull orangish? That's an indication this is a little bit softer. I'm not talking about soft like aluminum. I'm talking about, I thought it was going to be a harder steel. The really cool steel is that when you grind it, it makes like a whitish blue spark, goes out and pops. That's when you know you really got a cool alloy going. Anyway, I hope this helps. Don't worry about the old timers that are proud in their ignorance. You're not ignorant. You know exactly the right thing to do. You do the right thing and you'll be safer in the shop. And for the guys that know how to do the correct thing in the shop, you'll also gain their respect. So all of that is important. I love you guys. I'm proud of you. I hope you stay well and healthy and safe. And until next time, I'll be thinking of you. Take care.